Hello everyone, today I'm looking at Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I'm really kind of conflicted on this game because I had never played a Castlevania before, and I heard this one was the best one, so I thought, okay, well, I'll go with this guy. And I don't know, I guess I'm kind of conflicted on it because there are parts of this game I really like and parts of this game I really don't like. So I do kind of enjoy, the whole backtracking thing. I'm very familiar with that with Metroid, and yes, they're very much of the same ilk of games. I do enjoy also all the weird custom animations. All the enemies have their own kind of unique, distinct abilities and behaviors and whatever. And I do like the fact that Alucard is just really, really cool. I love the level up system. You come in all like rainbowy and whatever when you level up. I love the fact you have all these different weird items. The sprite art is really amazing. The wall chickens and all that stupid stuff. And Alucard is just in general a really cool character. Of course, the best thing about this game that people hark back to is the voice acting, because it's one of those so bad it's amazing kind of things where the dialogue itself is really well written and really interesting. It's just the line delivery is just a bit hokey, and it gives it this very distinct charm that I really do enjoy and like. There are definitely a few times in this game where I was definitely stuck. I didn't know where I was supposed to go, what I was supposed to get. And, that's happened a couple times. That's fine. I do like how there's lots of different secrets in the castle. You have a percentage of how much you've explored, and so you know how to find all the secret rooms and everything, or roughly, what you found and what you haven't. Some things that I find kind of frustrating is I do think it's cool that you can turn into a bat and stuff. It's just that the input to actually do that is like a semicircle like input thing, and that's like kind of difficult to do. And a lot of these things that he gets like this little like blood move or something that allows him to essentially shoot this fireball or shoot this other energy bit or this vampire drain. And again, all the inputs are just really complicated, and they are in the menu, but yeah, I know. There's a certain point in the game where it's not just like this is a cool thing to use, but there's a certain point where you need to be using the bat move like consistently. And then as a bat, you have another move in order to make you boost, and it's just difficult to input. Aside from that, the music in this game is of course amazing. It has a very distinct tone and style. I'm pretty sure usually there's at least one harpsichord theme song, which is really, really fun and cool. I love the fact that Alucard has a certain dash ability, and that's pretty much what you use to basically move backwards through most of the game. Again, figuring out certain things like drop rates from enemies and how they can get a rare kind of weapon from them, it was really kind of interesting. Again, I love the animations on the sprites. This is kind of a weird game because it came out when 3D was becoming a thing, and they still kind of stuck to their guns like, no, we're still doing 2D based games, which I think honestly is probably for the best. And so you have this really interesting, point in time where, you have a 2D game, but it's really, really advanced in terms of, the animations and all this stuff. Something I don't really like about this game is maybe, the scope sometimes is kind of weird, and the bosses, not essentially that I don't like fighting them. I mean, they are definitely hard, and this is a hard game, but it's more so they don't really have any kind of character personality. Like, they just appear. They don't even have like an opening animation sometimes, and it's just like, okay, they're just there for the sake of being there, I guess. I mean, some of them, like, a boss should be based on, obviously, its its mannerisms and its behavior in a fight and how memorable and how difficult it was to beat that boss. But at the same time, I just felt that there's just not a lot of, build up to any of these guys. They just kind of appear and they're very disposable. And sometimes you have enemies that are really massive and they take only a few hits to defeat, and some enemies that are really, smaller and they, just die very quickly. Another thing that actually really bothered me about this game that I felt was very kind of cheap, honestly, is the fact that once you get to the halfway point of the game, I thought it was like, oh, that might be it. But no, then you just reverse the castle, and then you have to go up through like an upside down castle and get to the place where Shaft is hiding. And I just felt that was just, I don't know, really lazy. The fact that you just take the map and like reverse it for the second half of the game. I mean, sure, there are other games like Zelda where you go through, you know, the same world, but it's all changed now. But no, it's pretty much like, yeah, okay, they did change a lot of things. You know, it is upside down now, so that's like kind of interesting. But, you know, whenever a game just lazily copies its own map for like the second half of the game, it just, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. Again, I was really impressed by, you know, the sprite animations and also the lore in some of these enemies. You know, sometimes an enemy will have like things like, oh, they were sent here 300 years ago by the Eastern Church or something, and something really cool like that. Alucard is also a very interesting character, and also as you play as Richter in the beginning, that was also a lot of fun. But yeah, Castlevania is definitely more of a gameplay focused, you know, game over story or, you know, anything else. I mean, the music and presentation is kind of nice. Also, the familiars you get are very kind of very cool once you get used to them and figure out how they work and what they do and how you can swap between them and also upgrade them. That was a lot of fun. Definitely my favorite one is probably the sword that was sentient and would just attack guys on sight. Just because I thought it was so cool how he leveled up, and his special effect was this really weird thing that I had never seen in a game before. So for me, that was really cool to see that. But yeah, Castlevania, it just has a certain style, you know, to it, and a certain gameplay like method, I guess you could say. And I don't know, I guess it's hit or miss, and I just don't really, you know, vibe with it, I guess. I mean, I like Alucard as a character and a lot of things about it, but I don't like how the game is just very, oh, you know, here's this giant monster boss or whatever, and just go and fight it, and we're not going to give you any context or reason for why you're doing any of this. Like, yes, you're doing this to defeat your father, Dracula, but there's no other plot development. It's not like there's, I mean, there is Shaft, but there's no other like sub boss or, you know, sub moment where you're like, oh, okay, now we have to go defeat this guy, and there's a reason for that. You know, it's just, it's a lot of style without, I think, a lot of substance in some cases. So that's my only real complaint. It's like, I mean, these designs are lovely, they're really cool, but again, there needs to be kind of like a force or a vision, or sometimes a rhyme to why they're there. Sometimes you'll find certain, you know, guards and skeletons in, you know, the castle courtyard. Like, for example, it makes sense if there were a bunch of knights within, you know, the inner sanctum, or if, you know, the skeletons were like in a graveyard or something, but things are just kind of placed here seemingly randomly that, you know, even in a game like, for example, Dark Souls, which is a master of environmental storytelling, you know, there's a reason and a rhyme for why certain enemies are in certain places. And of course, you know, once you get to like the more open areas where the air is open and then you have aerial enemies, so like, okay, that makes sense from a gameplay perspective, but from, again, a lore perspective, like, why is this specific enemy in this specific area of the castle? Like, is there a greater story as to why they inhabit this castle, or, you know, what is the purpose of them being here? And there usually really isn't. There are a few instances where you can get, like, an example of what I really enjoy and wanted to see more from this game is there's this one enemy you fight, which is this, like, succubus. And basically you go inside the dream world in order to fight her, because she is a creature of dreams and stealing men's dreams and energies when they are sleeping. And so it's this really cool dialogue where suddenly, you know, Alucard talks to this succubus and says, well, I'm going to defeat you in this world, and by defeating you, I'm going to keep you wandering in the spirit world forever, and that will be your punishment for daring to defy me, basically. Again, that kind of context, that kind of really cool thing, like, oh, there's a reason, you know, there's a little bit of background for this character, you know, why they are the way they are, and it's not just, oh, okay, here's like random skeleton, but now he has a crossbow 437, you know. I mean, that being said, the entire game was very enjoyable, but and I, you know, enjoyed it to an extent, but really I got kind of the vibe and the feeling that the Castlevania series is really not for me. If a lot of the games are kind of like this, we're just like, yeah, well, whatever, we're just going to put these enemy here because whatever. I don't know. I still did definitely enjoy this game. Of course, the sub-weapon's really cool, you know, seeing the classic axes, the holy water, the crosses, you know, the book, all that kind of stuff. It really was like, oh, okay, cool, so this is what this does and whatever. And of course I was very happy to kind of play this game, especially after playing Richter in Smash Brothers and kind of getting a feel for him. And Alucard, you know, I mean, he was in some of the Smash Brothers dialogues, but he wasn't actually in the game. Again, I just like the effects of a lot of these items. I think it's the funniest thing to me is that what is it, Dracula's Curse, or the final thing you get that you can use quite a few times, is that it literally shows like the Wikipedia JPEG of Vlad the Impaler on the screen when you use it. It is like an on-screen ultimate kill thing. I just find that very funny. And again, I love the fact that you get like all the different types of food, from sushi to pizza to burgers, the famous wall chicken, and how everything just is, it seems to be made with so much attention to detail and love, and the sprite art is really, really beautiful. But yeah, you know, despite all that, it was a little bit, I guess, odd or different for me, and I didn't really vibe with it as much as I wanted to, I guess. The one thing I do have to say about this game that really kind of surprised me was the ending song. I'm not sure if people really remember or recall, but, you know, Castlevania, it has a lot of rock and roll, a lot of, you know, like harpsichords and different instrumentation. And, you know, the end song, the credits for this game and the end song feel like a Disney R&B like theme. I find that to be really like, what the heck is this kind of thing. And it was very odd to me and very strange, but I still kind of enjoyed it, I guess. It was just the completely off or different tone that I was expecting from a vampire slaying game. It was called like Ballad of the Wind or something. I'm like, okay, did I just beat Beauty and the Beast? Another thing that of course gives this song a very distinct style is the sound effects, along with the sprites. It just makes it a very unique kind of experience, especially when you defeat an enemy and you have that explosion kind of sound effect for all the weapons you use. And also I was, you know, able to like appreciate the game a lot more in terms of scope when some of the last few swords you get are kind of almost like these, you know, constant, you know, damage, you know, attacks, where it's not just you slice, you know, in the beginning of the game, you would like slice once and Alucard almost has to like pause and take in the breathtaking swipe he just took, while at the end of the game, you just have almost like a machine gun sword, which is able to plow through everything in your path. You don't even need to stop and wait, which is a great feeling, honestly. Also, the final boss, Dracula, and Alucard fighting his father is really, really cool. I love how it's a two-stage battle, similar to when you fight Richter or fight with Richter at the beginning of the game, and then he takes on his true form, and then it gets really, really cool. Again, another thing that people love about this game is also the puzzle solving, the backtracking, you know, trying to find all the little hidden secrets in the castle, and also finding all the collectibles and upgrading your guy to the point where you're no longer afraid to take on certain bosses or certain enemies. I also think the damage counter is a really nice touch. It gives it maybe more of an arcadey feel, but I really do appreciate it because the game is kind of built in an arcadey kind of fashion, so it suits the game while also being very stylish. But yeah, that's Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Great game, great soundtrack. Again, maybe not my thing exactly, but I can see why people consider this to be one of the best Castlevanias. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it. I will see y'all later. Bye.